What's up, gents? Back with another quote-unquote simp video. This time we're going all the way up to the north, the real homeland of the snow bunnies. Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden. Now before I get started, I find it quite funny at how intense the depolicing of black men when black men appraise other groups of women for whatever reason. It's a very strange phenomenon. But anyway, I've travelled to Scandinavia many times. In fact, this was some footage of me landing into one of the Norwegian airports. I've been there many times. I've met many Scandinavians here in London. Actually, a lot of Scandinavians come here for the weekend for shopping. So I have a great deal of experience in dealing with women from this region. And so I will divulge my experience. Now, obviously, Norway and Sweden are individual and different countries, but I'm gonna try my best to be as generic as possible and to lump these two groups into one uniform palette, which is quite ignorant, but it is what it is, just to simplify this video. You've got a mix of people who are very close to their cultural roots in terms of open to cultural festivities. Christmas is a very big time for Scandinavians. You find a lot of Scandinavian women who are able to knit and knit very well. They will typically knit tops, knit mittens, gloves, hats. Scandinavians love retreating back to their mountain homes, which their family usually have, to ski and to chill out in cabins that are, for the most part, less technologically sound than their homes. So there's this element of some sense of introspection. But on the other hand, especially in Sweden, you've got this hyper-liberal movements and policies that renders out people that might have quite insane, from my humble opinion, viewpoints. Especially when it comes to gender roles and almost trying to go against the grain of nature. A good mix of the past and a neo-future that is rather questionable. Now, when it comes to looks, these countries are the main homeland of the stereotypical Caucasian looking individual, facial features, bone structure. If you guys like blonde hair, well, this is the place to go, because you will find type of blonde that you might not usually see in wherever you're from outside of Scandinavia. When we're talking blonde in Scandinavia, we're talking super blonde. The eyebrows, like super white, bright blue eyes. If that's your type, then these are the regions you need to go to, because this is the purest quote-unquote snow bunny. You know, these are the people Hitler himself will be absolutely proud of in terms of the phenotype. There is a good culture of keeping fit, being athletic. I've mentioned skiing. You know, there is a good winter Olympic tradition. You find a lot of women jogging, very open to jogging, very open to keeping fit. Pilates, yoga, CrossFit, all sorts of training regimes. So obviously that will add to a very aesthetic, sometimes sportive appearance. And there is a general culture of looking your best or giving the appearance that you're living a great, positive, sound life and everything's going fine, and present a positive image to the world. Attitude, generally speaking, is very chilled out. Like I mentioned earlier, there is appreciation of the past, but there's also this quiet out there futuristic mindset. Depending on who you are, this might be quite strange, and this is where we can go into territory whereby you as a black individual might just be seen as another new experience, a new gimmick to try to see how it is being with a black guy. But generally speaking, that just presents a very open-minded individual, willing to do most things. That probably also means inside the bedroom as well as outside of it. But all in all, man, a very positive, upbeat, kind of happy-go-lucky, stereotypical attitude that is adventurous and, you know, would want to go places, very outgoing, willing to experience the world. So, you know, this is a positive thing, generally speaking. You will learn a lot, you know, especially if you're with someone who's very active. You might go hiking, you know, you might go skiing, snowboarding, all of the other stuff that you might not experience with other types of people, which is a good thing in terms of experiencing life and the world. But going alongside that, the quote-unquote feminism effect, and this is me saying how attuned a certain mindset is to absorbing certain aggressive feministic dogma, and here is extremely high. And I would rate Scandinavians' feminism probably the highest in the world, but it's so fully ingrained in the society now that if it is aggressive, it's not seen as aggressive by the general society. Men in Scandinavia have generally accepted it. You might find some people, for example, that just don't believe in shaving pubic hair, underarm hair, and feel like it's almost an offense to suggest that. And again, within government policies within these countries, in my humble opinion, not all of these policies are bad. For me, I've always said that, hey, when it comes to working, yes, pay women equally, pay based on your intelligence and your ability. But in a nutshell, these are world leaders when it comes to what we call feminism. When it comes to the understanding of quote-unquote black culture, and this is me saying how attuned are these women to understanding black culture, here you will find a incompatibility. Many things will be deemed as a cultural shock, but again, with that open-mindedness, you find a person that is willing to just experience a new thing. Met a few Scandinavian women who become Muslim to cater to their partners or some other religion. There's something of a blank slate here. So it's as if that many of these women grow up in their environments and it's quite neutral, and you find some women that are just looking for something external. That's why a lot of Scandinavian people in general are very hot on traveling and been traveling from a young age. You usually find a lot of Scandinavian people, even though their population is so low, they'll be scattered all over the world, maybe on some spiritual retreat, quiet out there, and they have the finances to travel like that. But there is a risk of being perceived as something of a gimmick, something of a new experience. It's typical hipster behavior, just trying new things for the sake of trying new things. When it comes to the parents' generation, kind of similar to the current generation, to be honest, like still kind of out there. I can imagine in like the 60s, 70s, they were very liberal, and I think that is the stereotype of Scandinavian people in general, very open, very liberal, but a lot of parents are still quite traditional. They love their walks, they love going back to the mountains to retreat, skiing, traveling. Generally speaking, open-minded people, they won't, for example, restrict their daughters from entering relationships with black guys, for example. Highly educated people in general, so you won't find the typical ignorance as per other regions. And again, there's this appreciation of the traditional culture, the old way of living, which was quite humble. And so here you see, people who are generally quite wealthy, but like to express that in being humble and open-minded generation. When it comes to education, yes, Scandinavian women are very high up there, very usually eager to complete master's degree, maybe going to PhDs, and this is typically because the Norwegian, Swedish governments are very good when it comes to funding their population for a very long time to get the further education degrees that they need, and that's even if they're overseas. So there is no reason for your typical Scandinavian woman to not pursue higher education when it's very accessible. So therefore you'll find a lot of professional Scandinavian women, and sometimes this could be of benefit to you in terms of, I don't know, you want to set up a business and they have certain know-how in a certain area. Your conversations will be of a certain intelligence, speaking about meaningful things. But what do I think black men can learn from this pairing? To be real, again, with regards to the open-mindedness and the yearning to be a bit more traditional, this is a pairing that black men can really experience a lot in terms of activity, personal discovery, growth. My encounters with Scandinavian women have led me to places that I would never have wanted to go to by myself. Mountains, skiing, snowboarding, cabins, hikes, trail walks, all these things that are very typical to Scandinavian women, you'll be more privy to try out. And these things, to be honest, are the type of things that are in line with my ideals of self-improvement, being active. And so I think this is why a lot of Scandinavian people have a sort of positive mindset, because they are very active as a people. this is a chance to be more explorative and go out there. But on the flip side, there is a risk of being a gimmick, being like an experience, as in trying you for the moment, to see how it is, to absorb your culture and then spit it out just for the experience. But again, this is very dependent on what you want. So obviously, you only take that into consideration if you're really applying yourself for something long term. If you're happy with something seasonal, something temporary, a good, meaningful, short time, then I think this is the match for you. And once again, if you're into that whole snow bunny look, if you want that Caucasian blonde hair, blue, green eyes, and all those little small delicate features, then this is the group or the place to go to. I'll generally sum up this pairing as saying that it's nice, it's pleasant, but it just feels like there's something missing. A level of depth that I really think that most black men need, a level of understanding and emotional support, even though most men don't want to admit that. So it's one of those ones where it's like, it can feel quite shallow in the end. So these are my 2 pence on how Norwegian and Swedish women treat black men. What are your thoughts? What did I miss? Have you had this encounter before? How was your experience? Have you been up to Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it. And for now, it's your boy Falcon Black out. Peace.